The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
A famous story happened in the early 1900s. There was a woman who came from the old country and she was struggling. They said America was paved with gold. When she got here, no gold and no nothing. She was working all day long, from morning to night, and it was impossible for her. And she was making about $3 a month. She was poverty, and she was working hard and trying, and she had a little baby named Moshe at home. She had an aunt or somebody that would watch the baby during the day, so she was able to go out to work. She couldn't take public transportation. She had to walk wherever she would go, even if it was far across Manhattan. She lived in the Lower East Side. One day when she comes home from work, unfortunately, her relative tells her the baby is very, very sick. She goes running to her baby and she sees that the baby's fever is an exorbitant number. He's burning. She never saw something like this in her life. She quickly starts to panic, and her relative says, "Listen, there's a doctor that lives around the corner, a Jewish man. Maybe he'll come and he'll take care of your baby, and obviously you can't afford it. Maybe he'll be good to you." And she says, great. She goes running to the doctor, begging him. He looked at her clothing and realized she has no money to pay. He tells her, "Listen, I see your baby needs help. I'm going to come help you. Usually I charge $10, but I'm going to give you this one for free." She's so thankful. He comes to the home. He sees the baby, and he says, "This baby is very sick. And there's only one kind of medicine that could heal what this baby has, and there's only one pharmacist in Manhattan that could heal him, that could make this prescription." He looks at her again and he says, "Like I told you, I'm not charging you for my services. But that medicine is going to cost you a lot of money. So whatever it is, you're going to have to make a deal with that pharmacist." And she says, "Whatever it is." He writes the prescription. He says, "Jump on a train, go to the pharmacist, and he'll give you the prescription." She thinks to herself, she can't even afford a train. She runs halfway across Manhattan to go to the pharmacy. When she gets to the pharmacy, she sees there's a line. She's waiting online. Finally, it was her time. She gives the prescription to the pharmacist. He looks at it, and the first thing he says is, "Who is dying?" She heard those words, Shema Yisrael. That's the worst thing any mother would want to hear. Chas v'shalom, Shema. And she says it's her baby. He says, "I can make you the prescription. No problem, the medicine that you need." But he looks at her, and from the way she was dressed, he realizes she doesn't have 2 pennies to scratch together. He says, "Listen, the ingredients are very expensive." She says, "Whatever it is, I'll do it. Just make the medicine." He looks at the medicine and he makes a calculation. He says, "The medicine is going to cost me $45. And she's making $3 a month." She looks at him, he looks at her, and he says, "I can't go any less than that. If I give it to you cheaper, I'm going to have to go out of business, and I can't do that. This is not a Hesed store, it's a pharmacy. I need to struggle also, so I can't give it to you for any less." She says, "But I don't have any money." She starts to cry. He can't help it. They ended up making a deal. She said she'll come in twice a week after work for the next 2.5 years to come clean the store and tidy up whatever has to happen. The man said, "Instead of paying a worker to do it, I'll let her do it, and I'll give her the medicine from now." He said, "I'm going to have to ask you to sign a contract." Which mother wouldn't want to do anything to save her baby? So she says, "Deal." She's thinking to herself, she's going to have to walk in the snow, in the rain, in the freezing. She can't take public transportation. She's going to have to do that for the next 2.5 years for twice a week. But like we said, what wouldn't a mother do for a child? So she signs the contract, she takes the medicine, and she goes. As she's going home, she decided to go through a little of a worse neighborhood just to get home faster, to give her baby the medicine. But unfortunately, somebody saw her, a criminal, and saw her hiding a bottle next to her chest. He thought she was hiding some kind of drink, a whiskey, a liquor, whatever it may be. So he goes to the woman and he grabs her and he says, "What are you hiding? Give it to me." She starts to cry. She says, "Hello, are you kidding? This is a medicine for my child." She starts crying and screaming. He didn't believe her. He takes the medicine out of her hand, opens the cap and chugs the whole thing down. He tastes it. He realizes this is no liquor, this is no whatever it might be, and he spits it chutz mikvod hatzibur all over her. And unfortunately, he was a little violent with her also. She's standing there at that moment after the horrible person runs away, and she thinks to herself, Hashem is merciful. Everything Hashem does is good. That's what we were taught when we were in school. How can we say that? How can it be? Look what's going on. But she said crying and complaining won't help, so she went back to the pharmacist. He sees her and he says, "What's going on?" She tells him the story. He looks at her dress and sees all the medicine all over. And he says, "Like I told you, I can't give it to you for less than $45. She says, "Give me the contract." He says, "No, we made a deal." She says, "I will change it to 5 years. Shema Yisrael. She's going to have to go twice a week for the next 5 years, walking across Manhattan, snow, heat, whatever it might be. But what would a mother not do, like we said? So she goes and he pulls the contract out so she could change it to 5 years. And as he gets close to her, he smells something. He says, "What is that I smell?" She says, "It's your medicine that you gave me." He goes and he touches her dress and puts it on his nose and tastes it. And he says, "Oh my goodness, Hashem loves you." She's like, "What are you saying?" He says, "I gave you the wrong medicine." He says, "Had you have given this to your child, he wouldn't last for a few seconds, God forbid." He takes the contract. He rips it up. He says, "I'm going to give you the medicine free of charge, but on the condition that you don't tell the authorities that I made a mistake." She says, "Deal." They make a deal, and she got the medicine for free. She ends up going home, giving the child the medicine. She doesn't have to work. She doesn't have to come tidy up a store. The child was healed, and Baruch Hashem, he grew up to be a very healthy person. As a matter of fact, he grew up to be healthy physically, spiritual, financially. He was the famous Rabbi Moshe Scherer, who changed American Jewry. But at that moment, the mother saw. She thought to herself, how can Hashem do this? But then she realized Hashem was being good to her by her not taking the medicine.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org